Welcome to Your Infinite Health. Are you getting older?
Are you feeling it?
How would you like to do that in reverse?
We're your host,
Dr. Tripp
and Lene.
We've run an integrative medicine practice for 13 years.
Together, we have 60 years of combined experience helping clients.
We've helped tens of thousands achieve success in health and live longer, happier lives.
In this show, we'll cover peer-reviewed and evidence-based integrative approaches to creating the health you've always wanted.
We also share professional experience we see in the field every day.
So if you're ready to feel, look, and live your best life, you're in the right place.
Welcome to Your Infinite Health podcast.
Hey, guess who I bumped into on my way to go get my eyeglasses fixed the other day?
I don't know who.
Everybody.
Oh.
You got me started on these things, and now you're going to wish you hadn't. I can do this all day.
Yeah. That was cute.
So we're going to go into the second half of our previous convo about achieving success in health. And listener, if you hear weird noises, there are two dogs in the room, one name Wookie and one name Vesper. And so I just apologize in advance for that. Anyway, okay. So the law of success in health.
Okay, where were we?
What it is.
Well, what were we talking about before? We were talking about
Joan. We had gotten into Joan and we had discussed creating that fantasy, starting at fantasy.
Right.
And as the starting point and having, the goal of what the happy end result is.
So it seemed to me to be fantasy for health.
I fantasize about good health.
Turning point because of whatever situation drives that thought process to actually ask yourself if you're capable and then willing to do whatever it takes to reach a new health outcome.
Right.
And then following that, accepting the parameters of the goal, then you go from the goal to can you be successful at achieving that goal, and how do you achieve success? So
what is success in health?
So success, what the law of success is, in short form, conceive it, believe it, achieve it. So the conception of the goal is taking the fantasy and putting it into real life terms and putting down, kind of taking the fantasy and saying, this is what I want to achieve and what I want to turn my health reality into. And then making sure the next step is you can't move forward unless you believe that you can achieve that outcome. And that's where I have the conception of the new reality is what we do at Infinite Health is to go ahead and create the successful health image. And then following the creation of the successful health image, then basically with some tweaks because I find most people kind of, because of and it depends on how long they've been ill and how ill they've been and that type of thing, they tend to shortchange themselves in what they believe they can, their outcome.
Oh, yeah. I think people also have that issue in like what they can achieve in life.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people settle because they can't. Well, for me, because neither of my parents went to college and I hated school. I just wanted to get out making money. And it never occurred to me that I could be a lawyer. And so I was kind of happy just being a paralegal. Right. But it wasn't until I actually worked for some crazy lawyers that I realized that if they can do it, so can I. So thank you to those people. Anyway, they serve their purpose in my life.
You are where you are because that's where you're supposed to be.
Right. So you're saying that same thing. People get kind of stuck in that limiting belief with respect to their health as well.
Right. Yeah. So develop those limiting beliefs. So sometimes over years with their disease processes, chronic arthritis, degenerative arthritis, the diabetes example comes up again with all the potential complications, high blood pressure, even congestive heart failure. People, they shortchange themselves. And I think we as physicians are in part responsible for that because we're telling people, oh, no, don't do this, don't do that all the time. And sometimes the outcomes and the science is there. We know that people with congestive heart failure can improve. We know people with diabetes can resolve their diabetes, should they so choose. So when I see somebody that comes and we do our successful health image, I ask them to do that at the end of the first chapter, the law of success. I tend to want to tweak them. And
because you can see the potential.
Yeah. And I think they've become, we tend to be demoralized because we can't do the things we were accustomed to. And so we don't want to be, deceived or give ourselves too much or
have false hope, maybe.
Well, not false hope so much, but we don't want to fail. And I think most people set those limits, set that achievement at shorter limits. And so that's what I think, having somebody who's working with you to help you get to where you want to go, maybe even more so than you can imagine, then that helps because that other individual, be it your physician, be it a nurse practitioner, be it somebody else, a physical therapist, that actually can see and has seen this over the course of their clinical career and seen similar cases and have seen these people succeed at being much more than some of the limiting beliefs that we've attained over that time. It's critically important for that, emotional sustenance and helping you maintain that happy end result out there. So I always tell my patients to make make the image the elephant and, just
one bite at a time,
right? So I think those things are critically important. And then, so I'm thinking about, conception of the goal, believing that you can achieve with some assistance and sustenance, and then finally achieving. And so at the end of achieving, you become successful. And so going back and starting at the beginning of conception, then we have an exercise that I call the successful health image. And I broke it up into three different components so that people can kind of break things down into what they want and prioritize what they want. And so the first of those subdivisions is form, and form being kind of the
it's the 3F approach.
The 3F approach.
F cubed. F cubed.
F cubed.
The F cubed form.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Anyway.
So form is basically, I want people to think about what they're going to look like at the end of their successful effort. And so that revolves mostly around optimized body composition, optimized, and for whoever the person is, obviously optimized cosmetic appearance and that. And I always ask that they think about measurements, objective endpoints, because objective endpoints are so critical to get our ego to stop hounding us that we can't achieve, because that happens quite frequently.
You're saying measurements like inches or poundage?
Any number, any objective endpoint, because at the end of the day, when you've accomplished an objective endpoint, for example, that'd be weight, body composition, inches on your, on what you look like, or pants size, waist size, dress size. I mean, all of those things we can help achieve through the effort of the program, and then at the end of the day, when you've achieved that, then you can celebrate the result. And so the celebration is what's key to also eliminating the limiting beliefs, the beliefs that you've developed over the course of the illness or whatever chronic process has been taking place in your life. And I think that's really kind of a neat endpoint thing that many people don't think about very often, to have that objective endpoint so that they can actually celebrate. And the endpoints don't have to be, the endpoints don't have to be always huge, but they should be significant so that the impact is, I can do this. This is something I can do. And I think so form is hair, texture, and length, and anything.
So the outward appearance form is focused on the outward appearance.
Correct.
Okay.
And and on top of that, I think that when they think about the appearance, when most people think about the appearance, they get emotionally involved in it. They get when you can think about being healthy and fit and toned and and vibrant and energetic and those things because of your appearance, then that pulls you into that thought. It pulls you into, and it actually helps you create a physiologic environment inside that actually drives you towards that outcome. It's like, the example I use with my patients is I have them think about their favorite drink or their favorite food or something of that nature. It's already making me salivate.
Are you talking about the lemon, biting into the lemon,
biting into
exercise?
That, or, anything else that makes you, with that image, create a physiologic response, because that's what happens. So you start salivating.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that says is that when we put an image in our mind, an image of something we really want or desire, or something to eat or whatever it is, and we think about that and think about how much we like it, we actually activate the vagus nerve system, which actually stimulates our salivary glands, stimulates our esophageal and gastric.
Is that because the mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is not real?
Well, no, I mean, the five senses are there, but I mean, you're controlling them with the image. So that image, when you put that image of successful health, that appearance, the form of successful outcome there, it basically does the same thing. I mean, it's activating cytokines and growth factors and things like that, and creating relaxation and that help drive you and motivate you to create that outcome.
Okay, so form is...
You feel like that temporarily. You can go into your mind and feel like that person, that successful outcome.
Does that go into part 2 of the 3F form?
So that's feeling. Well, feelings are more, I think about feelings as how one thinks about themselves, what they think about themselves, and, their attributes for themselves, and then how they feel about their interactions with the world around them. And so all of those interactions, those feelings are, for example, I like to see on that when they come back with the form, feeling, and function form, that they say, that in the first person, they're saying, I am happy, because basically that's defining their, an emotional sense of well-being. And so, and really all of that feeling is more about defining one's character. So, because a lot of those elements will be defining the character of the individual. So it tells me a lot about, how they think about themselves, and, how they're going to respond to challenges and things like that.
Interesting.
And then the last segment is probably the most important, is function, is how your body works for you. And that's critically important for somebody to be able to, and this is where I really get the limiting beliefs coming out, is where I say, well, and for like Joan, for example, when I first talked to her about her image, she said, I can't get over 11 miles an hour on my bicycle. And that's with me drafting my husband. I've never been able to do it. And then she says, and I've never been able to finish a century ride. I've never been able to ride 100 miles and do this Alzheimer benefit and all that. I always end up on the bus. I never finished it. And I said, Okay, so I told her, I said, at that moment it occurred to me that for her successful health image, setting a goal for her, or setting an outcome for her that would be reasonable in my mind for her, because I knew her parameters. And, were she to accomplish that, then it would set the stage for all sorts of success moving forward. So I said, well, why don't you put, I complete my century ride, my Alzheimer's century ride at an average of 15 miles an hour. And she guffawed at me. She started laughing at me. She said, "You're crazy. I'll never be able to do that." I said, "Humor me, humor me. Go ahead, put it down." And that ride, they were training for that ride. They had 4 months to train. And what was really cute about that is that, she came in 2 weeks before the ride when they stopped training and said to me, "You won't believe how fast I did our last 20-mile training session." Or how fast? And she said 15.6 miles an hour. I said,
wow.
Who knew? and then she tagged me on her Facebook post 2 weeks later after she completed the ride at 14.96 miles an hour average.
Wow.
So that worked. Just, it dismissed her limiting belief and allowed her. At this point, we're a couple years later now, but she's riding at about 22 miles an hour now.
Wow. That's like twice as.
And she's 61, 62.
She's gotten older and she's riding twice as fast.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I think that's why it's key to have individuals that have good clinical practice and a good knowledge base and experience to help create that successful health image, because that thing is really the key to creating really whatever health you want. And I guess those people who do the exercise well and really get into and really abide by and comply with their own desires, they can create amazing outcomes.
Very cool. Yeah, Joan's a great story. Testament. Maybe one day we could have her on as a guest on the podcast. Awesome. Well, so that is the law of success, and that exercise, the F cubed, it's called form, feeling, function, but
successful health image.
Yeah. So that, if you're interested in doing that for yourself, listener, it is at the end of chapter 1 in the book Think and Live Longer, which is available on Amazon. Okay. All right. Until next time.
Thanks for subscribing to Your Infinite Health. I'm Dr. Tripp.
And I'm Lene. Until next time, feel it, look it, and live it.